I was in the middle of a video conference with several shareholders when the group from my high school class, which had been silent for a decade, suddenly exploded with notifications. "Megan, did you see Felicity's post? She's getting married today. You're really not going to show up?" As the messages kept flooding in, I realized that Felicity Simons, the prom queen from our school, was getting married. All our former classmates were there. I replied, trying to maintain my professional composure. "Sorry, I'm swamped with work right now." But the responses came fast and cruel. "What could you possibly be so busy with? Someone who hasn't posted in 100 years must be in pretty bad shape. Come on, just admit you're embarrassed and stop pretending you're so busy." Felicity joined the conversation. "Remember our bet? I always said I'd marry someone better than you." I responded back, not immediately remembering what she was referring to. Others started to provoke. Felicity's husband is the CEO of a publicly traded company. They even sent over 100 luxury cars to pick her up today. Seems like you're worried about how your life compares to hers. Pretending to forget? Maybe you're so broke you can't even buy a wedding gift. How about starting an online fundraiser to pitch in? In the middle of the bombardment of comments, Felicity tagged me again, putting on a show of generosity. "I really hope you can come to my wedding to witness my happiness. Since we're classmates, my husband can arrange a cleaning job for you." With that, she posted a stunning photo of herself and her fiancé in wedding attire. My jaw dropped when I saw the fiancé's face. It was Logan Headley, my husband, the one who married me and entered my family. Trembling, I wrote back, "Of course, I'll be there, definitely, to witness your happiness." As soon as I sent the message, my phone vibrated with a message from Logan. "Hi, love. I'm going to my hometown today to visit my parents. I've already left dinner in the fridge for you. Just heat it up. Love you always." Logan had moved into my house 3 years ago, always taking care of me and managing everything. Even when he left, he never forgot to prepare things for my day. I used to get emotional over his thoughtful gestures, but now it all seemed like one big absurdity. Abruptly ending the video conference, I grabbed the car and drove to the address Felicity had shared in the group. As I approached her house, I saw a huge red banner hanging at the entrance, welcoming Mr. Ridley, CEO of All G Group, to the wedding. Under the banner stood Felicity, stunning in a white wedding dress, eagerly awaiting the groom. A crowd of old schoolmates surrounded her, full of excitement. "Felicity, you hid this so well. We had no idea you'd be marrying the CEO of All G Group. Seriously, Mr. Ridley is a well-known businessman. You hit the jackpot. Felicity, you're entering high society now. Don't forget about us humble mortals." Even our high school teacher, Amanda Lane, was there, praising Felicity. "Felicity, from the first time I saw you, I knew you were destined for success. That's why I never reprimanded you for your grades. I knew you were born to be rich and didn't need to rely on performance." As the crowd filled her with praise, Felicity beamed with a triumphant smile, her eyes shining with satisfaction. Logan, apparently without ambition, had lived with me for years, trying to gain experience. I entrusted to him the smallest company under my name, All G Group. Little did I know that it was this capital Felicity was now using to shine. When I entered, the classmates, who had been full of flattery, suddenly frowned, looking at me with evident disdain. One of Felicity's minions spotted the car behind me and approached with a cynical smile. "Megan, you've really outdone yourself. Did you rent a Bentley just to come to Felicity's wedding and keep up appearances?" The others joined in the mockery. "No wonder you had the courage to show up. You just wanted to act rich, huh? Renting a car like that must cost at least 3 months' salary. Some people love to show off." Keeping my calm, I replied, "Actually, it's my car." Before I could organize my thoughts, Felicity stopped in front of me, furious. She raised her hand and slapped me hard across the face. "Your car? This is clearly my husband's car. I suspected he was seeing someone else, and now I find out it's you, you slut. How dare you show up at my wedding driving my husband's car to provoke me?" The crowd's eyes widened in surprise and disbelief. "Felicity, is this really your husband's car?" a classmate exclaimed. Of course it is. Why would I lie? Felicity replied, inflating with pride. She grabbed her phone and began showing photos of her and Logan together in the car. There were images of them hugging and others where they were sitting on the hood, looking intimate. The details of the interior and the license plate were unmistakable. The crowd was stunned. Oh my God, it is really Felicity's husband's car. That means Megan is the other woman. Felicity shot me a furious look. No wonder you've been so quiet all these years. You were playing the mistress all along. The crowd's scorn increased, with people pointing and murmuring. I thought Megan was such a good girl. Now it seemed disgusting just to think about it. Apparently, she was desperate for a rich man and threw herself at his feet. Even teacher Amanda looked at me with disdain. Megan, please, never mention that you were my student. I didn't teach anyone with such low morals. The atmosphere grew tense, and in a fit of rage, I ripped off my designer coat and threw it in the trash. I stared at Felicity, my voice firm. Before accusing, ask Logan who the real mistress is. Felicity, furious, grabbed a key and scratched the words, "The mistress dies," on the car's bodywork. I watched the scene coldly. I hope you're ready to face the consequences. I stayed there for a few more minutes, watching Felicity surrounded by her classmates. They laughed, boasted, and exchanged looks of superiority, completely oblivious to what was about to happen. Every insult, every little giggle, was like fuel, feeding the fury that boiled inside me. They had made a big mistake. They had messed with the wrong person. I took a deep breath, tasting the revenge on the tip of my tongue. This time, I would savor every moment. When I returned to the destroyed car, I didn't care about the broken glass or the scratches on the bodywork. In the trunk, along with the folder of documents, were valuable items, auction paintings, and rare antiques. I knew exactly how much they were worth and that soon Felicity and the others would discover, in the worst possible way, the price of messing with me. I grabbed the folder and walked away without looking back. The laughter and offensive comments still echoed as I left, but it no longer mattered. They would pay, and dearly. When I got home, every detail meticulously arranged by Logan seemed like cruel irony. Dinner was in the fridge, the sofa arranged just how he knew I liked it, and a small note left on the table said, Choi said, "Love, I'll be back soon. Love you." It was as if he had two faces, the perfect husband for me and the fiancé of his new wife, who was now bragging about stealing him. He thought I would always accept everything with my head down. Poor thing. It was time to show him that I was never the weak person he thought I was. I grabbed my phone and made a few calls. My lawyer, always efficient, confirmed that the process of transferring all assets was nearly complete. In a matter of hours, Logan and Felicity would have nothing left. The company, the house, and even the stocks I had temporarily put in his name would all be returned to me. Satisfied with the progress, I sent a message to Logan. Be honest with your new wife. What will she think when she finds out you don't own anything? Minutes later, he called me. His voice was desperate. What did you do, Megan? Are you crazy? Crazy? No, Logan. I'm just getting back what's mine. If Felicity thought she was marrying a rich CEO, she better get ready for the truth. He tried to explain, beg, and finally threaten, but it was too late. I hung up on him, not caring one bit. With every passing minute, my control over the situation grew. Soon, they would be facing the nightmare they had created. The next morning, I woke up early and went to the office of the company Logan ran. I walked in confidently and, within minutes, made the announcement that would end his reign. From now on, all operations returned to my control. Logan Headley is officially removed from any position at All G Group. The employees were stunned. There were whispers and surprised looks, but no one dared to contest. They knew who I was and, more importantly, they knew my power was real. Before leaving, I sent a statement to all local media, announcing that Logan and Felicity no longer had any connection with the company. Now, not only were they broke, but they would be without credibility too. In the afternoon, as I was organizing a few more details, I received an unexpected call from one of the former classmates who had been at the wedding. Megan, you won't believe this. Felicity is freaking out. She found out Logan doesn't have anything and is throwing his stuff out onto the street. I smiled to myself, satisfied. It was exactly what I expected. Felicity, the woman who thought she had it all, was now discovering that her marriage was nothing but a lie. I decided to go there to watch the spectacle. When I arrived at their house, the scene was even better than I had imagined. Felicity was in the middle of the sidewalk, screaming and throwing suitcases toward Logan, while he desperately tried to handle the situation. "You useless man! You lied to me!" she screamed, tears of rage running down her face. "I can explain, Felicity. It was all a misunderstanding," Logan begged, but there was no turning back. The neighbors watched the commotion, some recording with their phones, and I approached silently, enjoying every second of the public humiliation. "I told you to ask who the real mistress was, Felicity," I said, interrupting the argument. She shot me a look full of hatred, but there was nothing she could do. Logan was finished, and she knew it. All the fortune she thought she had acquired had slipped through her fingers. As she screamed more insults and broke things on the sidewalk, I turned around and walked away, leaving them to deal with the mess they had created. In the following days, his downfall became news in all the local newspapers. Felicity was exposed as the woman who married for money and ended up with nothing but debt. Logan, in turn, was seen as a weak, manipulative man, incapable of maintaining any stability. As for me, I moved on, stronger than ever, now with the company under my control and my reputation restored. Every step I take is a reminder that we should never underestimate who we are and always remember that revenge is best served cold. I spent the next days carefully organizing the closure of this chapter of my life. Headlines about Felicity and Logan's collapse took over the local newspapers. Felicity's image, desperate and crying on the street, became a meme on social media, and Logan was quickly labeled as a parasite who lost everything. But something was still missing. I knew they needed to feel firsthand what it meant to mess with someone like me. Revenge wouldn't be complete until each of them paid the price in full. First, I had to ensure they couldn't recover. With the company and assets back under my control, I made sure to quickly sell off all stocks and properties associated with Logan's name, leaving him with no chance of trying to hold on to anything. Within a few days, there was nothing left in his name. I even contacted some financial institutions to informally communicate his situation, making it as difficult as possible for him to get any credit. He was officially bankrupt. Now it was time for Felicity. I knew her public image was everything to her, and destroying it would be my final gift. I hired a private investigator to dig into their marriage and find any dirty details that could be useful. It didn't take much effort to discover that Felicity had taken on enormous debts to fund the lavish wedding, designer dresses, car rentals, and extravagant parties, all financed with the hope that she and Logan would live in the abundance he had never known. So, I began to move the pieces anonymously. I leaked information to the media about the absurd expenses and accumulated debts. Newspapers and blogs quickly picked up the story. The prom queen's farce. Felicity married a fake CEO and now is drowning in debt was one of the headlines. The scandal was immediate. All the former classmates who once laughed and cheered started distancing themselves from her, deleting photos and posts in which they appeared together at the wedding. The public humiliation was relentless, and Felicity was left to her own devices. Meanwhile, Logan, with nowhere to go, tried to contact me multiple times. I blocked all his attempts and made it clear that he was no longer welcome in my life. Eventually, he ended up living at his parents' house, completely defeated. Felicity kicked him out and left him with nothing, and the last I heard was that he was working a temporary job, far from everything he once tried to conquer. But I hadn't finished yet. Felicity needed one final lesson. I organized a private auction and bought, for a fraction of the price, her wedding dress, which had been pawned to pay off one of her debts. When the dress arrived in my hands, I took a photo of it, carefully folded, and sent one last message to her. Now your fairy tale is part of my collection. I hope it was worth it. They say revenge is sweet, but the satisfaction I felt was much deeper. I had regained everything and more. The company was thriving again under my leadership, and the peace I felt was priceless. But the best part was knowing that they would never be able to forget what they had done. Every time Felicity and Logan remembered what they had and lost, they would also remember that they had messed with the wrong person. With everything finally in place, I decided to close this chapter for good. I sold the house where Logan had lived with me and bought a new apartment in the city center. Modern, spacious, and completely mine. The past no longer had a place in my new life. Now, every step I take is with the certainty that I will never again allow anyone to underestimate me. Logan and Felicity are just memories of a time that's behind me, a lesson that will never be forgotten. And as I move forward, with the company flourishing and my life in balance, one thing is certain. If they ever think of trying to rise again, they will always be in the shadows of my victory. Today, my life is completely different, and every step I've taken so far has been a reminder that sometimes, losing is just the first step to truly winning. The past, with all its betrayals and humiliations, seems distant, like a storm that passed and left only a clear sky. I don't look back with anger, just with satisfaction. That episode taught me one valuable thing. Never let anyone dictate my worth and always be in control of my own victories. The company, under my leadership, not only recovered but thrived in the last few years. We opened new branches, formed international partnerships, and expanded into markets that Logan would never have been able to explore. Today, G Group is one of the most recognized companies in the industry, and I am celebrated not only as a successful businesswoman but also as someone who rose from the chaos. Every achievement is a reminder that power is never in the hands of those who try to take something from you, but in how you respond. Over time, I bought my freedom in every sense. I moved to a spacious, modern apartment in the city center with a view of the horizon. I made sure to create a space that was entirely mine, without any traces of the past, just of a bright future I built with my own hands. Every detail here reflects who I've become: strong, independent, and determined. My closet now holds not only the clothes I've always dreamed of having but also Felicity's wedding dress, kept as a personal relic, a reminder not of hatred, but of victory. As for Logan and Felicity, they've become shadows of what they once were. Logan, from what I've heard, is stuck in an endless cycle of temporary jobs, unable to stabilize financially. Felicity, on the other hand, has fallen into obscurity, living off appearances and desperately trying to maintain what little dignity she has left. From time to time, an old acquaintance mentions, in gossip, how she tries to rebuild her life, but nothing she does will ever have the shine she once thought she had. I, on the other hand, have truly moved forward. I've traveled the world, met incredible people, and built a network that has opened even more doors for me. I've also learned to take care of myself in ways I used to neglect. From practicing yoga and meditation to investing in therapy, it was never about them, it was always about me, about my ability to turn every blow into an opportunity for growth. Recently, I was invited to give talks on overcoming adversity and leadership. It's funny to think that people now want to hear my story, not for the drama, but for the inspiration. I talk about resilience, about how we should never let temporary defeats define who we are. And although I never mention names, everyone who knows the story recognizes that I turned what could have been my ruin into a springboard for a better life. From time to time, I still receive anonymous messages from unknown numbers, probably from Logan or Felicity, trying to reconnect. They go unanswered. There's nothing left for them to say or do to change what's already been done. The past is buried, and I'm too busy living in the present to care about it. Today, I'm happy not because I needed to destroy someone to get here, but because I finally understood that my happiness never depended on anyone but myself. Freedom is my true victory, and knowing that Logan and Felicity live in the echo of the choices they made gives me immense peace. So, if you ask how I am today, the answer is simple: better than ever. Every success I achieve is proof that I am stronger than any obstacle life places in my path. And the best part of all this, knowing that, no matter what happens, my victory will always be greater than any defeat they may have planned for me.